Presto, which is SQL at any scale, in any environment, and on any storage. So the agenda for today's presentation is we begin with an introduction to what is Presto. Then we will see where it is positioned in the big data ecosystem, followed by the architecture, and then we have a brief introduction to its programming interface. And finally, we will compare it with similar SQL engines which are present in the market today. So to begin with, Presto is an SQL, it's a distributed SQL query engine which resembles MPP style databases and query engines. What is MPP? MPP is massively parallel processing. That is, a program operation is split into smaller parts, and the coordinated processing on multiple processors will take place. And that's how Presto works. So to tell about the history of Presto, it was a project which was started in 2012 by Facebook. Facebook was using Hive in order to query its large amount of data. But then it lacked a little bit of efficiency, so they wanted something faster. So that is why they started off with this project. And it was in 2013 that Presto was launched under Apache license. And right now, Presto is managed by the Presto Software Foundation, which was founded in 2019. And Presto is not a database. It does not have a storage of its own. And it is not designed to handle OLTP, that is online transaction processing. It has several features of distributed processing, like in-memory parallel processing. It has pipelined execution across nodes in the cluster, and it also has a multi-threaded execution model. The main feature or main attraction of Presto is that it can query the data where it lives. You don't have to migrate the data to a single source. And here we can see how Presto comes on top of the different type of data sources, like distributed object storage. It can be an RDBMS or a NoSQL, or it can be a data lake, and so on. And using SQL, we can query from Presto. We can use a uniform way to query from all these different data sources. This becomes more clear in this slide. Okay.
If you don't mind, you can remove the mask, by the way, just for us to hear you better, but it's up to you.
Okay. Okay. So on the top, we can see the tools which use Presto to query the data from these data sources. Like we have ETL data warehousing. We can use it for dashboards. We can use to generate test reports. It can be used for machine learning, to do some ad hoc queries, also for data also for database management tools, and for data analytics. And these are some of the different data sources which we can see in the bottom part. It can be HDFS, it can be MongoDB, or MySQL, or Amazon S3, Oracle, Teradata, and different types of data sources. And Presto is used to query the data from these data sources with the help of tools like Tableau, MS Excel, Power BI, Qlik, and much more. Now we can have a look at the architecture of Presto. This is a very simple model of the architecture. The client provides a SQL query to the coordinator, and there is a single coordinator and there are several workers. These workers perform the tasks which are assigned to them by the coordinator. And inside the coordinator, we have a parser and an analyzer. Then we have a planner, and finally a scheduler. And these workers pull data from different data sources. We will look into each one of them in detail and understand how the architecture works. So first and foremost, we can consider coordinator. It is a Presto server that handles the incoming queries from the client. The client gives a HTTP request to the coordinator, and coordinator manages the workers to execute these queries. It keeps track of the activity of the different workers, and also whether they are up and running, and it coordinates the complete execution of the query. In fact, it can be mentioned as the brain of Presto installation, of a Presto installation, and the node to which a client interacts or connects. It creates a logical model of the query that we provide to it, which is involving a set of stages. So we will see what the stages are later. So the coordinator creates a logical model to split the query into stages. Then the coordinator processes the request by evaluating the queries first, evaluating the queue policies. Then it does parsing and analyzing on the queries. Then it creates some optimized distribution plan according to which this query will be executed by the workers. The coordinator distributes this plan to the workers, and it starts the execution of the task, and then it starts to enumerate the splits. So what are splits? Splits are opaque handle to some data sources, like a part of a chunk of data in data sources, which is in an external storage system. And splits are assigned to different tasks, which are assigned to workers. So each worker will know which split it is supposed to pull from the data source. So they are assigned to the tasks which are responsible for processing the particular split. Yeah.
What do you mean by opaque handles?
Like each worker, the data cannot be executed by a single worker. It is split into different parts. So it should be communicated to the worker in a way understandable to the worker. So that's what I understood from it. Discovery service. So it runs typically on the coordinator, and it keeps track of the workers, whether they are up or down. So each worker, when they are allowed to register to the discovery service, whether they want to participate in the cluster. So they are configured, the workers are configured to know the host name or the IP address of the discovery service that is running in that particular cluster. And every Presto instance registers itself with the discovery service on startup and periodically sends a heartbeat signal to show whether it is up. Thus, the coordinator will have an up-to-date list of available workers and can use that list for scheduling the different the query execution. And if a worker fails, it will not give the heartbeat signal, and thus the discovery service will trigger a failure detector, and thus the worker becomes ineligible to continue in the cluster. So we'll look into workers in the next slide. Worker is a Presto server responsible for executing the task assigned by the coordinator, and it processes the data. So when a worker starts, it advertises itself to the discovery service, which makes it available to the coordinator for the task execution. Then it fetches data, or actually splits, from the different data sources using connectors, and also exchanges intermediate data with each other. So connectors we will be looking into detail later. Connectors are used to connect with the data sources. So workers take data from the data sources, and also they exchange intermediate data with each other. They use cooperative multitasking to process tasks from many queries concurrently. And the final result data is passed to the coordinator, which in turn gives it to the client, the final results.
Please, if you have any questions, ask. I'm trying to understand what this is doing. So it is a SQL server, right?
Yeah.
So it takes SQL queries
Yes.
and returns back to the user results.
Results, yes.
So I have to have underlying it, I have to have a database management system, right?
Yeah, they can be.
Database.
Yeah.
So can you give examples of what kind of databases, distributed databases that can be are supported by Presto?
Presto can support any kind of database, all kinds of databases, and other.
They have to be distributed, right?
They have to be.
They have to be distributed.
Yeah, distributed. No, they don't have to be distributed. Yeah, it's on top of HDFS. Yes, distributed.
The run above HDFS.
Yes, yes.
So sometimes HBase, for example.
Yeah.
HBase is supported.
Yes, yes.
Okay. But it doesn't. Of course, it doesn't fetch data from HDFS directly.
It can.
It can.
Yeah, in the previous.
HDFS is
not directly. Not directly.
Okay.
But this slide is a bit confusing. Maybe what I am like from this, I understood it can fetch from HDFS also.
HDFS directly. But HDFS is not a database, right?
The underlying data can be of any kind. Presto can.
So you show us examples of SQL statements and databases later. How to use it, right?
Yeah, I'll be telling you about the different drivers which we can use to connect to the different databases. Different ways of connecting it.
But the data doesn't have to have a specific schema.
No, as per my knowledge.
Then how the SQL server will handle the SQL
query? I hope you will understand in the coming slides. And then maybe we'll keep the questions for the end so that because you can see the whole thing and then maybe you'll get a more. So now we will see what is happening inside the coordinator. So inside the coordinator we have a parser analyzer in the first part. Then we have a planner or optimizer, and finally we have the scheduler. So it first does the parsing, that is, it will check for the SQL syntax rules. Yeah, it has to be in a query format. The parser will check whether the syntax rules are correct, and then it converts it into a syntax tree. And then the analyzer uses this tree to determine type and coercions, to resolve functions and scopes, to extract logical components from these queries, such as subqueries, aggregations, and window functions. And next is the planner. It is a logical planner which uses this syntax tree and analysis information to generate an intermediate representation encoded in the form of a tree of plan nodes. So we have a syntax tree, and the logical planner creates a new tree, which is a form of a tree of plan nodes. So each node represents a physical or logical operation, and the children of the plan node are its inputs. We will see this in the next slide, an example, so you'll understand then. And the planner produces nodes which are purely logical, so it doesn't have any information of how this plan is going to be executed. So we can see an example here. If we give a statement, select orders.order key, comma, sum of tags from orders, left join line item on orders.order key is equal to line item.order key, where discount is equal to 0, group by orders.order key. So here, to do the join, we need to first scan line item on which a filter is being applied, which is discount is equal to 0. And for the join, we also requires the orders table, which is scanned on the other side. and then a left join operation takes place based on the order key column, and finally we perform an aggregation, which is we will find the sum of the tax column. So each level is input to the next level in this tree. Now we go to the next part. It's fine. Yeah. Yeah.
Now you assume that you have a database and a table called orders, and there's a field called order key, and there's another field called text, right?
Yes.
Where do you get these?
Where do you get?
How do you get these?
Yeah, we have connectors to connect to different data sources. So we will implement the connectors, and it will define like what all we have access or what all users who have access, and everything is implemented in the connector. That will be coming in the next.
So this is in the underlying database management system, the service database.
This is the.
No, I mean the connectors work with the underlying.
Yes. So the next part is scheduling, and the coordinator distributes the plan. We were talking about the plan earlier. So this is distributed among the workers as executable tasks. And to execute a query, there are mainly two types of scheduling that's happening. One is to determine in which stages this should be scheduled, and the second determines how many tasks are to be scheduled and which nodes these tasks should be placed on. There's also one more split scheduling, but the main are the stage scheduling and task scheduling. So we had earlier mentioned that every query is split into stages. So how these stages are to be scheduled is determined by stage scheduling, which can be done in two ways. One is all at once, that is to save time, everything happens concurrently. And the other is phase scheduling, in which phase execution takes place, like it first identifies all the strongly connected components of the data flow from the data flow graph, and then this is done to avoid deadlocks, and it is executed in a topological order. And the next part is task scheduling. The task scheduler examines the plan tree which we saw earlier and classifies the stages into leaf and intermediate stages. That is, leaves are the ones which pull data from the data sources, and intermediate stages are the ones which take like data from the leaf and then produces the next intermediate levels of the data. So that is done in task scheduling. That is, it makes leaves and intermediate stages. Then we have the split scheduling. That is, when a task in a leaf stage begins, it has to take the data from a data source. So it has to get the split from the data source. So once it makes itself available to receive one or more splits, it must be assigned one or more splits in order to become eligible to run. So Presto splits it into batches of splits and then assigns them in a lazy manner. So here we can see how a query plan is converted into a distributed query plan. It is converted, initial query plan is split into different stages. Here we can see stage 0, stage 1, and then the results go to stage 2, then finally to stage 3. And each of these stages are split into different tasks, and scheduler splits these tasks and assigns them to different workers, as can be seen in this slide. Now comes the connector. Presto has a connector-based architecture. It provides Presto an interface to access any arbitrary data source. They provide a table-based abstraction over the underlying data source. So this is implemented with the help of SPI, which is a service provider interface, which is a type of API which is used to implement this connector. It allows Presto to use standalone operations internally to connect to any data source and perform operations on any data source. The connector takes care of the details which are relevant to that particular data source, specific data source. And each connector implements 3 parts of the API. The first one is for metadata, that is to fetch the table, view or schema metadata. Then second is to produce logical units of operations to produce logical units of data partitioning. And finally, the last part implements the data sources and the sinks. There are several kinds of connectors provided. Examples are HDFS or Hive and MySQL, PostgreSQL, MS SQL Server, Kafka, Cassandra, Redis, and many more. And it is also possible to have your own custom connectors. But there is a large community for Presto, which is accessible to us through the Presto website. There will be custom connectors are shared over there, so you can always access that and implement your own connector only if if it is not already written. Here, this figure shows how the different interfaces are provided, like metadata SPI, we have statistics SPI, data location, and data stream SPI. So each interface is for different purposes. Like in case of metadata SPI, it is used to validate the query, whether the query is semantically valid, like to perform type checking of expressions and to do some security checks. Then statistics SPI is used to obtain information about the row counts and table size to perform cost-based query optimization during the planning phase, which we saw earlier. Then finally, the data location SPI is facilitated in the creation of the distributed query plan, like how to distribute the plan. It depends on how the table is split. So that information is obtained from the data location SPI. And we can see how different data sources are linked to the coordinator and worker through the SPI in the connector. So this is a little more detailed architecture which I took from a IEEE paper on by Facebook on Presto. So here we can see query is first they give it to the queue where they check for queue priorities. Then we have the planner or optimizer which uses metadata API to do the planning and analyzing part. Then we have the scheduler which uses data location API which again interacts with the external storage system in order to do the scheduling of the task. And finally, we have the workers where we have the data source API which is used to pull data from the external storage system. And the final results are given to the worker which generates the final results. So that is it regarding the architecture of Presto. Now we will, yeah.
Can you tell me this? I didn't get how the external storage system is between the API, between two types of API.
Between the
Start with the core API.
Yes.
Planner,
Yeah.
scheduler,
Yeah.
and then
API is in the connector. SPI, which I mentioned earlier.
okay, so the connector deals with
Yes. Connector deals
the
with,
external storage system.
yes.
But what is that connection between the external storage system and another API?
I think the scheduler needs information from the storage system in order to determine how to split the task among the workers. They need the partitioning information and all from the storage system. Workers require, they need to interact with the storage system in order to pull the data.
Okay. Okay, so these two, okay, this
Workers.
API is different than the others.
Yeah, that is in the coordinator.
It gets data from the
Yeah, from the external storage system.
and the processor is the actual processing unit.
Yeah, multiple processors are used. Okay. Now we go to the programming interface. There are several ways to use Presto. The first one is a command line interface, which provides a terminal-based interactive shell for running queries and for interacting with Presto to inspect the metadata related to it. Next, we have a JDBC driver, which enables you to use powerful SQL client and database administration tools, such as open source tools like dbeaver and SQL client with the help of JDBC driver. It's also possible to use report generation tools, dashboards, and analytical tools which use JDBC to connect with the help of JDBC driver. There is also an ODBC driver, which is currently there is no open source ODBC driver available. We'll have to purchase it. It will enable us to use several popular applications from database administration, from business intelligence, from reporting and analytics space, such as Microsoft Power BI, Tableau, SAS, and Microsoft Excel. There is also a Presto web user interface, which is useful for monitoring Presto and for tuning the performance. Finally, we can also make use of client libraries which are created by the Presto community. For example, we have for different libraries for different languages like C, Python, etc., Ruby, etc. These can be used to interact with applications which are written in these particular languages.
Is it basically Java?
Basically,
The main programming language is Java.
SQL. We are using queries.
But you don't write any user-defined.
For the to implement the connector, I didn't look into that. Okay, so this is a picture of the Presto web user interface. We can see how many active workers are there. We can see whether any queries have been blocked. We can see the queued queries, the running queries, the reserved memory, and much more. This can be used to monitor Presto. Now, few concepts which are which we require to do the programming in Presto. The first thing is connector, which we saw earlier. That is, it adapts Presto to any data source. It translates the query and storage concepts of an underlying data source, such as RDBMS or object storage, to the it is converted into the SQL and Presto concept of tables and schemas, columns and rows. The next is catalog. A catalog is something which defines the details for accessing a particular data source. That is, which connector to use, and it also contains the schemas that can be used related to that particular data source. And schema, as we all know, it is a way to organize the tables, and catalog and schema together define a set of tables that can be queried. And finally, we have a table, which is a set of unordered rows which are organized into name columns and data types, which have data types. And the data types, most of the data types which are present in standard SQL can be used in Presto, but not all of them, not all of the Presto connectors support all these data types. It depends on the how the connector is implemented. And Presto may not support all the data types of the underlying data source. And the underlying data sources also may not support the same data type that is present in Presto. I mean, both ways. So in that case, we may need to convert the data. And the way how this data conversion takes place is defined in the connector, like how the conversion between the data source and Presto is taking place. It is present in the connector implementation. So here are some Presto statements which allow us to know, which allow us to query Presto tables. So first one is show catalogs, which will show all the available catalogs. Then show schemas from the catalog, will list all the schemas in the catalog. Then we have the show tables to get the tables. Show functions, display all the list of available functions in SQL. Then show columns, that is similar to describe table in SQL. We can see all the tables, all the columns from the tables with the data types. Then we have use catalog.schema or use schema. That is to inform that we need to use this particular type of schema from so and so catalog. If we do not mention the name of the catalog, then whatever catalog which we are using now, it will take the schema, it will resolve the schema according to the current catalog which is being used. Then show stats for table name provides us the statistics like table size, number of rows, counts for the data, and so on. And explain. Explain is used to view the query plan. Like we were talking earlier that a query plan is generated by the coordinator. So if you need to view this query plan and you need to get the detailed individual steps of this query plan, we can use the command explain. Now next is Presto system tables. Some tables which are defined in the system catalog file. We do not have to configure in the catalog file for our connector. It is already there in the system catalog. So they also contain, these tables also contain schemas, and the web user interface exposes information from these Presto system tables. And we can also query the system tables to get information about the nodes which are running. Like for example, for listing the nodes in the Presto cluster, we can use select star from system.runtime.nodes. To find the failed queries, you can use select star from the same table where the state is failed. To find all the running queries, we can give their query ID and use from the same table you can query that. To kill the running query, we can call system.runtime.killQuery where the particular query ID is matching and the message is killed. And to get some idea about the data source, this is one example for that. We can do show tables from data lake.system. So it will give an idea about the underlying data source, a table in the underlying data source. Now SQL in Presto, it tries to be compliant with the existing SQL standards.
If this is the SQL, what was the examples before?
I meant these are Presto SQL statements. More specific to Presto. We're using the Presto system tables. That's why I kept this. With this I meant the normal SQL queries, which is used in a normal database. Okay, select statement is a normal SQL query. I meant we are querying the Presto system tables here. That's why I kept it as a separate slide.
Okay, so both are the same thing?
Same thing. I just kept a heading like this. It's not.
These are specific examples.
This is to query the Presto system.
These are SQL statements, right?
Yeah, it is for the Presto system tables. These queries are related to the system tables. And yes. Yeah. And the previous one.
They're not for the underlying source also.
We can use a normal select query on the underlying source also.
Yes.
That's what the last one. It's about underlying source.
Okay. Now, when you switch it, what are these? These are just examples. Other examples?
Yes. I just wanted to generalize on all the SQL statements because we cannot cover everything here, so I just kept it as a brief.
But these are similar to the ones that we saw already.
Yes. So it always tries to be compliant with the normal SQL statements, but in some cases where there is no equivalent functionality present, it extends the standard SQL. An example to that is lambda expression. It is simply a transformation from an input value to an output value, which is separated by the symbol which is given there. And the example, this is an example for that. Like we have two arrays and we have given x comma y with lambda expression x plus y. So it just adds each x and y from each array and provides the result, which is shown in red. It adds each element of corresponding elements of both the arrays and produces the third array. So lambda expression is it's an extension beyond the normal SQL in Presto.
This is another way to do the SQL because we select the with, there is no from, not the source.
Zip-with is, I think it is specific to Presto. It's a table in Presto. Oh, yeah, that's what
But the data itself is there already.
Yes. Yeah. I did not read like what is zip-with. It is a particular. Maybe there is some specialty for the.
So this is not normal SQL.
Yeah, this is an extension. The normal SQL is supported by Presto, but some cases we use some extensions. So this is an example to that. And here I show the difference of creating a table in Hive and how it is done in Presto. Like we are creating a table in Hive with Presto. So in Presto we have a query like create table hive.web.page views, where Hive is the name of the catalog, web is the name of the schema, and page views is the name of the table. And then we have the different columns with the data types, and then we need to specify the format, which is ORC here, and the external location that is given in with. And Hive, it is a bit different. I think Hive uses Hive query language. So there is a difference between both. I just wanted to show the difference in this slide.
Okay, if I understand, I don't know how Hive is working. Hive is just an SQL also engine, right? It
Yes.
doesn't actually store the data. So it's very similar to Presto, right?
Yes, it's similar.
So
But Hive uses MapReduce architecture. This uses MPP.
Yes.
That's the difference.
Yeah.
Okay. So then there are also advanced SQL available in Presto. We have functions, the different functions and operators like Boolean operators, logical operators, mathematical functions and operators, string function and operators. Then we have something called Unicode functions, which is related to the Unicode format. Then for dealing with regular expressions, we have the SQL-like operator as well as a regular expression function. Regex function is also used. Then we have window functions. Like window function is to work on a particular set of rows. Like we can specify a window and work on it. Then we have date and time functions and operators. Then there are some functions related to histograms like width bucket function. That is, you can specify a particular width and create a histogram. Then we have aggregate functions, then JSON functions, and finally some map functions. Like the results will be in the form of a map, I mean, a key and value kind of results. So all the details we can find in the Presto website. All sorts of documents and the details of all the functions are present in the Presto website. Due to the limitation of time, I didn't add more in this. So now I have kept the link to the Presto website in the end. So it's very
Yeah, we'll talk about that later, about what we need for the whole class. At least one document that everyone can read.
all the list of all the functions and operators that can be used.
One document that will
Okay.
summarize
Okay.
the main points.
Okay.
At least that will be reference for the quiz.
Yes. And to go into the comparison of big SQL systems, I chose to put the timeline of these big SQL systems. In 2004, MapReduce was introduced, and in 2006 we had Hadoop. Then 2009 we have Spark coming up, and followed by Hive and Google BigQuery in 2010. In 2011, Shark was introduced, and in 2012, Cloudera Impala was introduced. And it was in 2013 that Presto, Tajo, and IBM Big SQL came into the picture. And finally, in 2014, Apache Phoenix and Spark SQL and Apache Drill. Apache Drill is also very similar to Presto. So I chose 3 of them to do the comparison. I couldn't find much information actually. So I couldn't find much information related to the comparison. So this is all I could find. So Presto uses standard SQL, whereas Hive uses Hive query language, which is HiveQL. Spark allows both, that is standard SQL, HiveQL, and also we can use Scala. And in Impala, we use SQL, and it also has a high compatibility with HiveQL. Presto is faster when compared to Hive and Spark SQL. Hive is a bit slower, whereas Spark SQL is faster than Hive, and Impala is faster than the others. Then scalability for Presto, it is scalable, but there is some limitation to the data that can be handled, like the in-memory size of processing is less, like there is a limit to it. For Hive and Spark SQL, they are both highly scalable. Impala is also scalable, but the performance degrades after reaching some data storage limits. And regarding the architecture, both Presto and Impala have MPP kind of data architecture, whereas Hive uses MapReduce and Spark SQL uses Spark. And Presto is good for quick and fast data analysis that requires less memory, whereas Hive is used for queries that require a very large amount of memory. Spark SQL is good for interactive queries, and Impala is not good for interactive computing. It performs well with less complex queries. Finally, the references, I would suggest this book, Presto, The Definitive Guide by Matt Fuller, Manfred Moser, and Martin Traverso. Pardon? Yeah, it's a book. No, I can suggest the chapters which I...
just one chapter.
Because, but not one will be enough. Maybe the SQL and Advanced SQL 2 chapters. It is published in 2020, so it has the very latest information related to Presto. The next is a paper on Presto, which was published in 2019, IEEE, which 35th International Conference on Data Engineering. It is the paper by the Facebook team, which worked on this project. So, if you
use this paper in the presentation.
Yeah, some of the second architecture diagram and all I've taken from that, and some.
So maybe this would be enough resource.
But that is having more of the architecture. It doesn't give any examples at all. So, if you need to know more about the architecture, it gives a very detailed it presents it in very detail. And then the Presto website, Presto Foundation website, there we have a community. You can interact with the Presto community, and a lot of documents and all the functions related to Presto can be found there. The next one is a tutorials point course, but I doubt whether it is up to date. But in order to get the basic functions that can be used to be introduced to that, it will be helpful. And the next YouTube link, the first one, will show some basic examples, that is common SQL commands. Many examples are there. And the last one will show you some advanced SQL examples and tuning examples. Used in Presto, yes. So these are the my recommendations for learning Presto. So.
I have one more question, but I think I asked it many, so open the door for others.
I think I confused all of them.
I do. You must have questions, and you will be examining all this. You will be quizzing on this. You will chance to ask questions.
You can retrieve the data from Oracle.
Yes.
So Oracle is one of the data sources.
Yes.
But Oracle is distributed.
No. So
No?
normal Oracle database is fine. I think initially I was a bit
So
tense, so I was getting things mixed up when you asked. Now, no, it is not.
The database has to be distributed.
No.
It goes with both end types.
Yeah, that's what I understood. Maybe I will check and find. That's what I understood. It should be an. It's just pulling from the data source. Yeah, that's what I understood.
The execution of the SQL system itself is distributed, but the underlying data source might not be.
Yes. Yeah, because it pulls the data and then it distributes among the workers. So I think the data source doesn't have to be distributed.
To understand what is the main advantage. Because Hive is still there for a long time, since almost the beginning of Hadoop. So what is the main? I think you had a comparison. Can you go back to the comparison?
Yeah, it is faster than Hive. That is what.
The slide before that.
This one.
This one. The other one is code comparison.
Hive has its own language.
Yeah, that is also there. Yeah. Like
And Hive has
the business analysts may be more used to standard SQL, so they may prefer to use SQL itself rather than going for Hive SQL. That may be one thing. And mainly they had mentioned about speed in the paper. Like they wanted a faster result. That's yeah, memory is like in memory processing, there is a limitation to Presto. Like we define how much memory is to be used. So if it exceeds that, then an error will be returned. So that is a drawback of Presto compared to Hive.
what is the drawback again?
There is a limitation to the memory that can be processed in memory. Like we define a memory size. So in case it exceeds that, an error will be returned. So I think that problem is not there in Hive. I refer to 3 websites and.
I have also the same question. So this is not your comparison.
Partly it is my comparison from reading from different websites because.
It is your comparison.
Yeah, so this I'm not.
But then you should, for this comparison in particular, you should put the references.
References, okay. I
For
thought
this
like.
table in particular.
Okay.
How do you know that this is slower, this is faster?
Okay. Like there are some papers which do the comparison, but they are based on some particular data sets or they have kept some restrictions and all.
That's fine. When we compare, we have to compare on the same.
Yeah, on some scale. But then I got confused, like in the normal case, whether that will be applicable in general. So I was confused on how to go ahead with this. Yeah, you had some question.
it's better to, when you have such comparison, to have one source. We actually did this comparison thoroughly with experiments.
But I couldn't find much papers on Presto, like comparisons, only 1 or 2 papers, and they had just mentioned. So I wouldn't have much content to put. That's why then I chose
If you
this.
just add one slide with that comparison from the papers and you put the reference, that will be.
I'll change it.
I have just two more questions. Do you have any others? I'm not familiar with MPP. What is MPP?
Massively parallel processing. It's a storage structure where the main program operation is split into different parts and it is coordinated. Like here we are splitting it into different stages and giving to different workers, the task, and then the coordinator is coordinating it. So such a structure is called MPP.
And in the first or second slide, you mentioned that this is not good for interaction, interactive queries. Can you go back to the first or second slide? When you were talking about the objectives?
OLTP.
Not designed to handle online transaction processing. Yes, I understand this is very specific type of processing, but it is good for interaction.
Yes.
I can write queries and get results in real time.
Yes.